Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another insightful episode of EdTalk World. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Professor Jasmijn Bol, a distinguished professor holding the prestigious Francis Martin Chair in Business and serving as the PricewaterhouseCoopers Professor at Tulane University, AB Freeman School of Business. With a Master of Science in International Business from Maastricht University and a PhD in Management from IESE Business School, University of Navarra, she has established herself as a leading authority in operational risk management and control system design. Her research explores the transformative potential of AI in enhancing efficiency and employee outcomes. Additionally, she serves as the faculty director of the Masters of Accounting program at Tulane University. So without any further ado, let me quickly introduce her to all of you. Hello, Professor Bol. Welcome to EdTalk today. How are you doing today?
Hi, good. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure is all ours, ma'am. Before we commence our session, I would personally want to thank you a lot for taking out your valuable time and joining our session for today.
You're welcome.
So let's dive right in. The first question that comes to my mind is, talking about AI, will people lose their jobs because of AI and robotics?
Yes, unfortunately so. And not only will this happen in the future, this is actually already happening, but it's not happening uniformly, right? So it's not that a certain percentage of all jobs will disappear. Depending on the type of job and the type of education that jobs require, AI will work as a complement or a substitute. So if you have low education jobs and middle education jobs, we'll see that AI will take over a lot of those roles, right? It will substitute the roles that currently exist. However, for high education jobs, AI will work as a complement, right? So for those jobs, more work will be created. And I think one of the things to point out here that is very important is that middle education, where we see AI substituting, a bachelor's degree is considered middle education, right? So a lot of us think, if you have a bachelor's degree, you're going to be safe for all of this because you're highly educated. We'll actually see that at the bachelor's level, still a lot of substitution will take place, right? So, and this research is done by Zhang et al. That look at these different layers and where substitution takes place and where complementation takes place.
That's a great point, I must say. Now, speaking of tasks, Professor Bol, what do you think? Like, what types of tasks do you envision AI taking over now?
Yeah. So you have to think about what is an AI good at, right? Any technical, repetitive task that can be automated, an AI is really good, and it's going to be better than any human, right? So if it's very technical and it's very standard, and AIs are getting smarter, right? So the amount of things that we would call automatic, right, is getting more and more. But that doesn't mean that the AI can do everything, because there's certain skills, I call them uniquely human skills, right? Where we as human are still a lot better than AI. So for example, creativity, right? Humans are a lot more creative, a lot able, because we're not taking what was already made and then giving that, combining that in a new way, right? Humans are able to actually come up with new concepts. Critical thinking, right? Another thing that is very important. We see that a lot in outputs from ChatGPT, where things, go awry, the AI makes up stuff, things that are not right? So critical thinking skills are still very, very important. And the last one I want to talk about is tacit knowledge. And tacit knowledge is the ability to manage yourself, manage others, and manage complex situations, right? So it's all about how to deal with certain situations. Do I escalate it? Do I hold back? Do I talk to a manager? Do I talk directly to a client? These types of things, that judgment, right? That is uniquely human. We're good at that, right? We can understand situations. AI can't do that. So what we really will see is that humans will focus more and more, and that's how we will see increases in productivity, right? Where we can say, AI, you take over these mundane administrative tasks, right? I might supervise, but I can let the AI do that. And that will give the human more time to focus on those things that humans are actually really good at, right? So think about if you're a leader, a manager. A lot of times, managers are complaining that they spend so much time doing things that they don't think are necessarily of a lot of added value, but it's also hard to ask somebody else to do it, to delegate it, because it often takes more time to tell people what to do than to do it yourself. So you're boggled down with a lot of administrative tasks, and you don't have enough time to focus on things like mentoring or talking to your subordinates. So AI can take away a lot of that mundane administrative tasks, and then as a manager, you can focus on what you're uniquely good at. I mean, I'm really thinking about AI as the next step, right? So first we had to calculate everything in our head, and then we got calculators, right? And so that made us quicker in what we were doing. And then we had the internet, Google, right? Instead of having to memorize a lot of technicalities, any moment of the day, right? We can type it into Google and get the formula for a break-even point. So you still have to know how to calculate those things, right? You need to have the knowledge yourself, but it made it a lot easier, right? To have that technical knowledge and not have to do so much memorization. And AI goes one step further in helping us do those tasks. So instead of it just being a spreadsheet where I can, manipulate it, it can do a lot of things for us, but we still need to stand above it, right? And understand what's going on. So I'm really thinking about AI as a way of making us more productive by taking away those tasks that the AI is better at, leaving us more time to focus on our unique skills.
That's amazing. That's fascinating, I would say. Now, considering the impact of AI and robotics, what does this mean for education? If you can shed some light on this. And also, the most important point is, what type of education would be beneficial, or I would say would be most beneficial for the students?
Yeah. So this is a very important question, right? Because we talked about how some jobs are going to be taken over. So you don't want in your education to be only focusing on things that an AI is really good at, right? Because you can't compete. It doesn't matter how good you are in code, in data entry, right? Data entry is not going to exist anymore. So there's no sense of focusing on those things. You really want to focus on those things that are uniquely human qualities, right? So I talked about creativity, I talked about critical thinking, about tacit knowledge. So you want to be highly educated and focus on building those skills so that complementarity will really work for you, that you can use the AI and enhance your productivity by giving away those mundane tasks. But then you might say, all right, but it's not that easy to have tacit knowledge, creativity, and critical thinking, to build that in our education, right? Which is true. And that is why I feel in institutions really need to focus on experiential learning, right? There can't be just that technical knowledge. It really needs to be about building critical thinking skills, about building tacit knowledge, about enhancing creativity, right? Letting students explore. And so at the Freeman Business School, we really try to, in each of our courses, right? Not to have the same curriculum and add on a little bit experiential learning, no, but really integrated in each of our courses through case studies, right? To mock trials, to having exercises, discussions about how to deal with situations, building skills like presentation skills, but also working in a team, right? Education really can't look like it used to 30 years ago, where students were just sitting and listening and memorizing and regurgitating that back. I mean, those are all the skills that the AI is going to take over, right? The 5 steps in any plan, right? I can Google that in 2 seconds. So no, we need to build those critical thinking skills by having students really think about situations and how to apply their knowledge so that they can stand above the AI, or, stand above maybe is too literal, but that they can really use it as a partner that complements them instead of the AI just substituting what they're doing.
Exactly. Excellent insights, Professor Bol, I must say. Proceeding further with this, I have a very important question for you. Now, in this teaching, I would say, how do you incorporate these skills and concepts into your teaching?
Well, so it's really using things like case studies, right? And exercises where people build on their own knowledge, and where there's a lot of interaction, and where students can learn from each other, can think about situations, because obviously, also internships are very important, right? Where they already have some experience with the workforce. I think that it is really about that interactive element, right? And those situations where you put your students in projects where they go out in the world, actually already, start using some of those skills to help organizations. I mean, those are the activities, right? If that's embedded in the curriculum, that you get students who really have a high level of critical thinking and creativity and tacit knowledge.
Well, that sounds like a well-rounded approach with Professor Bol. Thank you so much. My final question to you today is, does all this means that technical skills are no longer important?
Yeah, well, no, it does not, right? We can't skip that step, unfortunately. So remember, I was talking about the calculator, right? So just because we have a calculator doesn't mean that in elementary education, students are not taught to calculate, right? We don't say, oh, we don't do that anymore, right? It doesn't mean that we can skip all the technical aspects that an AI can take over. Take, for example, accounting. In order for you to work in a complementary way to an AI software that helps you with risk analysis, you have to understand the financial statements, right? You have to understand the debit and the credit. You have to know how these things are done. You might not need the same amount of ability to do it, blindfolded, right? So it used to be that people had so much practice in those things that they could be very quick, and that things were almost automated as a human, right? You don't have to have those levels, but you need to understand it. You have to understand the technical knowledge in order to work in that complementary role to an AI, because we just spoke about the AI not always being right? You have to be able to look at those output and see if they make sense. You have to be able to look at the setup of a program and understand if it's done correctly. So you can't skip it, but as with the calculator, we also don't have to spend all of our time to be the quickest, person who can calculate things in your head. You have to understand, you have to do it, you have to understand it, but you don't have to have that same level of fluency as we used to have. No, that time is better spent on critical thinking, development, creativity, etc.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Professor Bol, for sharing so insightful on these thought-provoking questions. This definitely has been a truly enlightening session for all of us. I couldn't thank you more for taking out your valuable time and joining us and letting all of us understand the fear and the pros and the cons, everything related to AI. today's world. So thank you so much again.
You're very welcome. It's been my
Professor
pleasure.
Bol, before we conclude this, once again, thank you so much for all of your support today. For our viewers, if you really like this chat, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel because you have a lot coming from us. This is Krish with Professor Jasmijn Bol today, signing off.